Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Waterloo Region Electric Vehicle Association Electrifying News, June edition. June, I guess it's, what are we, the 10th of
Mhm.
June, 2021. With me, as always, I've got Mr. Eric Steebing joining us from Listowel. How are you today, sir?
I'm fantastic, Mark. How are you doing?
Very good, very good. I will have no jokes for you about snow in Listowel, not at this point.
Thankfully, I'm done with that.
That's right. Thank you. We're all done with that. Also, we've got, as per usual, Mr. Ian Graham joining us from downtown Kitchener. How are you today, sir?
Doing well, just trying to keep cool. There's lots of heat going on.
That's right. The heat and humidity is upon us. Absolutely. So
Get in
there's
the car and drive with
there's
some AC.
there's one season in southern Ontario once the snow goes, and it's summer immediately. Well, we hope our viewers are doing as well as they can out there, and hope you are all enjoying the nice weather now that it's here. And we thought we would come up with some more stories this month to discuss and let everybody know about some progress we've seen out there. And we hope you're enjoying this video series. So let's get to it. And Ian, let's go.
All right. So our first story of tonight is once again Lion Electric. This is the third podcast that we're talking about Lion Electric, and it's awesome to see. They're doing really well.
Exactly. They have, I guess basically they've posted an update and the story that we're linked to. And of course, all the stories that we are talking about tonight will be in the show notes if you'd like to go read further details about them. But Lion Electric has announced that the company said it is, of course, continuing to build EVs. They have raised an additional $500 million and announced the new manufacturing facility in Illinois and the ability to add to the existing facility currently in Quebec. And they talked a little bit about their current status. As you may remember, they have about 400 vehicles on the road today already. And they've recently disclosed that they have received more orders, 800 new orders for the next 12 months. And of course, some of these new orders are coming from high-profile customers that include Amazon, IKEA, and Sobeys, as well as other school districts, which of course are picking up their school buses that we had seen at some of our WREVA events in the past. So it's a good news story that this Canadian company is starting to increase the number of vehicles on the road, and it looks like they're getting more and more customers interested in getting an electrified platform for their transportation needs. They talked a little bit about their first quarter revenue. It rose to $6.2 million. That's more than 460% year-over-year growth from the last Q1. And they talked a little bit about, of course, their addition to their plant in Mirabel, Quebec, and how they're increasing the number of batteries that they're producing for their vehicles. The plant in Quebec actually doesn't create their own cells. They're bringing those in from South Korea. But what they're doing at the Mirabel plant is they're assembling them into custom pack sizes that work in the multiple vehicles that they're selling. So they're assembling those into packs and, of course, making sure the battery maintenance system and all of that is working properly for each of their vehicles. Mm-hmm. So a great story. They're continuing to grow. Looks like they're getting more and more customers, and looks like we can look forward to seeing more of their vehicles on the road with other Canadian companies purchasing what they have to offer, which is fantastic to hear.
Mm-hmm. I'm really excited to see also that they are on the New York and Toronto stock exchanges. I think this is another company that we should keep an eye on, especially with the 400% increase and that's huge to see something like that. And it's right now actually is an interesting time for the stock exchange with electric vehicle companies and also companies that do lithium. So there's a company in Quebec called Critical Elements. Last year they were down to about 37 cents, and now they're almost $1.70. And Lithium Americas Corporation would be another one. It was down to about $3-4. It's about the $17 range. Actually went well over $25 at one point as well. So if you're into, doing some trading on the stock exchange, I think some of these companies are really interesting to watch. Even if you buy a few shares just to dabble with. But I think Lion Electric is definitely one to keep an eye on.
Yeah, it's nice to see. Lion, I think, is starting to see the benefits of a lot of the pilot projects, a lot of the initial orders of some of the vehicles that they've gotten out there. People have used these vehicles for a year or two, and they're starting to see the benefits of electric. They're starting to see how much money they can save in maintenance and costs and stuff like that. And now the word's getting out how important these vehicles are and what benefits they can have and what different kind of use cases they can benefit to. So they're starting to see a lot of orders, and they're going to start seeing a lot of growth. And it's going to be a question now of if can Lion expand and take advantage of that. And they're certainly trying.
Yeah. Definitely. I think with the they're raising $500 million, and obviously there's some interest in there, that's for sure. And I think the big thing is the growth is great. The biggest problem I think with a lot of companies though is, can you handle the growth? Are you able to meet that growth and the demand? And I think Lion is actually doing really well with that. They seem to be very well managed.
Very good. On to our next.
All right. Next time you go for a hot dog and a Slurpee, you can go and spend 10-15 minutes and charge up, as 7-Eleven is now installing DC fast chargers at certain stores in Canada and the US. I'd be interested in seeing where they're going to install, which stores they're going to pick and choose on this. Because I always think of 7-Eleven as more of in a city aspect of things, not like you see it along, I don't know, Trans-Canada highway routes, that type of thing. But this looks to be, similar to what's happening also with in Norway. Yeah,
so it's good to see that you're seeing stores like this where you have a captive audience. Basically, it's kind of like the theme of gas stations, where gas stations don't make most of their money selling gas. They sell often their biggest margins, and their biggest revenue comes from the convenience store attached to it. So in this particular case, we have charging stations. You have a captive person usually for 20-30 minutes. Now you can, it makes sense to have a convenience store or someplace to shop nearby where these people can actually purchase items, and you can take advantage of that. So I look forward to seeing more businesses do this. It's good to see 7-Eleven do this. And yeah, we've seen Circle K do this in Norway, and it's a good thing. And 7-Eleven's also announced that they're reducing their CO2 emissions by they're purchasing more wind energy for their stores, and are pushing to make the energy they acquire more green as well too.
Absolutely, and it's looked like this is starting to catch on, because we already talked about the Norway connection, and Circle K trying this out was one of the first publicized ones that were doing it. And I understand the Circle K is also moving some of those fast chargers into North American market as well. So Canada will have not just 7-Eleven, but apparently Circle K is going to be joining the mix. I don't know what the amount, if they've made an announcement yet, but certainly here with 7-Eleven adding 500 DC fast chargers to the North American market is a great start.
Mm-hmm. And who says you can't get gas when you buy a day-old hot dog and have that in the car while you're charging?
Yeah.
If you still need gas, you get it free of charge with the dog.
Yeah. Right. All right. Okay, some more great Canadian news to chat about. If anyone who knows battery development with Tesla, they will know the name Jeff Don out of Dalhousie University. And Jeff's team has now been given another $3 million to keep developing the battery technology. And of course, the focus that they really want to do is lowering costs, increasing lifetime, and the energy density of batteries, which honestly, all companies are going for this. The costs have come down immensely over the last few years or so. The lifetime is getting to be interesting. Of course, there's the talk about the battery being the million-mile battery. And you'd be looking at, if this was, for example, in like a home energy storage unit, it would be like 20 plus years that this would work. And of course, then the other big aspect is the energy density of batteries, giving us much longer range for our vehicles. And over time, every year it amazes me how, we're seeing, the Nissan Leaf was like around 150 kilometers, and now they're doing like 300-400 kilometers. Now we're getting into the 500-600 kilometer range. And all of this has just really been in the last, I would say, 5 to 10 years, but especially in the last 5 years, we are seeing a huge amount of that sort of what we call the S curve. It's similar to computer technology and how powerful our computers get, and the curve just kind of keeps going up almost to like a point of a 90 degree because the technology just gets that much better overall. But this is great to see for Jeff Don. He's working with a great team and sharing his knowledge, because I'm sure Jeff will eventually want to do some other things with his life in retirement, but whenever that may happen. But no, it's really great to see that we've got this.
Yeah, happy to see that this is happening in Dalhousie University, Nova Scotia, sharing some of that expertise with the Canadian group there, and hopefully Dalhousie can become a little bit of a battery hub that can spur other innovation in other companies to help work on the progression of batteries getting longer lasting and more robust. So kudos to Jeff Don and his research group, and glad to see Tesla appreciates what they've been doing for them.
Yeah, it's good to see a lot of the preliminary research and a lot of the original ideas that end up propagating through the automotive industry often starts at the university level. So it's good to see that this research is extending to electric vehicles and electrification, and seeing that investment in Canada is fantastic.
Mm-hmm. All right. Speaking more of out east in Canada, and before you go into the story, Mark, I'm not sure if you guys have seen on the news, but the icebergs are not the same there. They were saying that the icebergs are disappearing out there, which really makes me sad. They're not having the same amount that they normally get. So the waters are getting too warm.
Yeah, that's part of the the global climate change is certainly affecting that as well. But hopefully, again, with more electrification, we can help curb this. I know it's not the only part of the solution, but it is a part of it. So hopefully, we can turn that around. But speaking of I guess it's Newfoundland, they recently announced that province is going to join the EV group. So they're going to be creating a fund for a rebate for residents of Newfoundland and Labrador to get up to $2,500 off the purchase of a new electric vehicle. The province is putting a fund together, which they're going to be setting aside $500,000 for the program. And again, it's based on new vehicles at this point. But the nice thing is that this $2,500 is also able to be added to the federal program. So that's a $5,000 rebate. So you can get $7,500 off your new EV in Newfoundland and Labrador. So this was recently announced, and they now join, of course, Quebec, Nova Scotia, and Prince Edward Island, as well as Yukon, the Northwest Territories, British Columbia. I mentioned British Columbia twice, but they're getting a really sweet deal, so that doesn't matter. So it's another province added to the list, and I just have to say, Ontario, are you listening?
Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah.
Yeah, we have an election coming up not too long from now, so hopefully that'll change.
Yes. I think this is also going to be great to see because, this rebate is also then going to lead to more chargers being installed. And honestly, I've never been to Newfoundland and Labrador. I hear nothing but amazing things about it. That's kind of why I brought up the iceberg, because it's like, I would like to see that. That would be really cool. I think that's just going to make that many more chargers going on the island as well.
Yeah, and the government of Newfoundland is helping to fund a network of DC chargers in Newfoundland as well too. So this is all in line with the same program in a sense that they're also putting in at least, I can't remember, but it's around a dozen stations that are covering at least the main highway going through most of Newfoundland.
Mm-hmm. No, it's really cool to see. All right.
Oh, just a note, there are about 190 EVs in the province currently. So just so everyone knows the numbers at this point. But that's, of course, without an incentive, and we'll hopefully see a spike in that.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
So, yeah, for the next story here, this is the sort of a follow-on to investments into universities in Canada as well too. This shows that General Motors does a lot of its product development and testing and engineering in Canada, and this shows that the Hummer EV is tested at their ACE facility, which is part of OUIT actually, which is in Oshawa. It's the Technical University in Oshawa. And in partnership with this university, General Motors has built what's called a climactic wind tunnel. This climactic wind tunnel also has a rolling chassis in it. There's only about a half dozen of these facilities in the world. General Motors has two of them, one here in Ontario and one in Michigan. And this facility is quite impressive because it's a wind tunnel. It can simulate the vehicle in full motion driving, and it can also simulate different climate conditions. So it can do -40 temperatures, it can do +50 degrees Celsius temperatures, it can simulate freezing rain, snow, sleet, all sorts of different conditions as well too. And they can rotate the vehicle to do side winds and crosswinds and all sorts of things as well too, while they're validating the vehicle, checking it for performance, cabin heat up times, and cabin comfort. They can look at things like battery cooling and how fast the battery heats and cools under different conditions. And they can even look at things like wind, buffeting. They can analyze trim pieces as they expand and contract and all that kind of stuff as well too. So it's a very powerful tool here in Canada that they're doing in partnership with the OUIT in Oshawa.
I think that's really awesome. Like, I love how you're mentioning about they can control so much of the weather with the -40 and even, like you said, freezing rain. That's just amazing to kind of know that these companies can do this and really test their product. I think whenever you buy an EV Hummer, I think you should get a Arnold Schwarzenegger bobblehead to have on the center console.
Who says you don't?
Because of course he was one of the was it a conversion that he did with the Hummer?
Yes.
I'm saying yes. Yeah. That he took a Hummer and got it done up. So I think an Arnold Schwarzenegger bobblehead on the front would be really cool to see.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe get him in like the Terminator style as well. While he's bobbling, he's holding his Terminator gun or something like that.
Yeah.
So this facility, Eric, it's in Ontario. Is this Kapuskasing?
No, this is in Oshawa.
It's
So
in
this is
Oshawa.
actually,
Okay.
it's actually on the OUIT campus.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So it's part of the university, and the university can do their own independent testing there. So they do their own research and their own work, but it was built in conjunction with General Motors for the facility. So GM uses it about half the time, and the university can use it for their own research half the time as well too.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah, when I was in school a long time ago, in university, a lot of our equipment and a lot of the research that we got to do, we got a lot of money from the automotive industry. So I got to my fourth year project. I was doing crash testing simulations, and we got to use we got time on a supercomputer from Chrysler. So that was kind of neat.
When I taught down at Niagara College, they have a shop with 10 bays. And one thing I thought was really cool was the teacher there had mentioned to me that GM had helped in funding those 10 bays. They had a charger at the very back of the bay. It was like valet service. I could show up with my Volt that I had at the time, and somebody would come out and drive it up and plug it in for me while I taught. But GM had definitely put some money into the bays for the students, and it was nice. They had done a really good job of it. It was great to see.
Yeah, it was all part of, I think, the Eco Car Challenge that they have too, where General Motors donates vehicles and technology and money and stuff to all schools all over North America to come up with new eco ideas, basically, for how to make cars better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, all right. So, another story here in Canada about the little bit of traction that EVs are getting in Canada. With, of course, we've got new model choices. And of course, recently we had the Ford F-150 Lightning has been announced. Nice truck. It's got some interesting specs on it. And I actually just saw something that was mentioned that the F-150 Lightning and the Cybertruck in terms of orders are kind of like neck and neck, which I think is awesome. There's going to definitely be a people who want something a little more traditional compared to the Cybertruck and that, but again, we're getting back to the electrification of everything. And I think for a lot of people who were a little maybe hesitant on going electric, I think the Lightning is actually going to be that vehicle over time. I could see it, users spreading the word about the vehicle, and I can see that really, changing a lot of people's minds and going to electric.
Yeah, another note on that Ford Lightning, I heard just today that they hit 100,000 pre-orders. So that was news that just came out today. Yeah, but this article, which of course you can see the link below, just kind of gives an update as to where we sit in Canada as percentage-wise. I know that with WREVA, a lot of people in the organization really like to keep up on how many electric vehicles are being sold in Canada, what kind of progress we're making. And for the 2020 year, Canada as a whole sold about 3.52% in light vehicle registrations were zero-emission vehicles. So that it's not a fantastic amount. It's not like it's 40% or something. But I will caution people that just a few years ago that wasn't even 1%. Yeah. So we're definitely moving in the right direction. I'm sure a lot of us would say we're not moving fast enough, but it's good to see the number is increasing. So, moving from a not even 1% to now just over 3.5% is certainly going in the right direction. Some, of course, provinces are doing better than others. British Columbia, for example, their overall sales in 2020 of zero-emission vehicles was 8.4%. Mm-hmm. Quebec was 6.81%. And that certainly is great news. BC and Quebec account for almost 76% of all vehicle registrations, EV registrations in Canada. And unfortunately, Ontario has dropped a little bit, and we're sitting at 1.75%, although we're up from 2019 and down from when we had our big incentive that was available the year before. Mm-hmm. So that's not surprising. EVs tend to move with the cycle of incentives still at this point. It makes a big difference, as we've seen in British Columbia and in Quebec.
Yeah, I think as we see more options hitting more demographics, obviously the market's going to expand as you get more vehicles that appeal to people. People are, looking for a very specific set of things that meet their needs, and everybody's needs are different. So, but as we see more EVs come out that now hit the heart of the market, like again, the Ford F-150 Lightning, or the F-150 itself, that is the best-selling vehicle in North America. So, seeing an electric version of that, you're hitting now the heart of the market for people in this segment. So, seeing more mid-size crossovers, seeing more pickup trucks, and then seeing a span of more vehicles on top of that is only going to help to spur an adoption. And then, of course, as prices change as well too, EVs are becoming more capable and they're becoming more affordable every time as they come out too. So that appeals to a much bigger demographic as well. So it's we're getting there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, even the Ford Mach-E is getting great reviews. Mm-hmm. And just a friend just posted a video about his drive in the Mach-E, and he was really blown away by it. And again, the people who are a little hesitant about things, I think that word of mouth is really going to dramatically change also the sales, not just from incentives, because I think people really, that is one of the biggest things of why we buy stuff, is because, our neighbor got that electric vehicle and now we're talking to them and, well, how do you like it? And, they're learning about it. Yeah. Or, one of their friends or relatives gets one, and, that's going to change. But Eric, like, you're correct. The F-150 is, that is the vehicle that, has sold so well. And now to electrify it, that's quite a statement that Ford's saying, like, hey, we're not just going to stick to the old game of gas. We're moving forward on this, and especially with a product that has sold so well for them.
Yeah, they build more than 1 million of just these a year in North America. So, I mean, it's a massive vehicle with a massive potential, and the implementation of the Lightning Pro with the Lightning with its huge front trunk, and even looking at the F-150 hybrid that's on the market today, which has a 7.6 kilowatt onboard power system. This boosts that to 9.6 kilowatt onboard power, which is highly versatile. It could be a game changer for a lot of contractors and stuff like that as well too. Now they won't need generators and things like that on their sites. It's very powerful tool.
Yeah. And what's also nice is that yes, the number is kind of low for all of Canada, but as we've polled the WREVA members, just even before the pandemic, with the limited amount of vehicles that were out there, you'd be hard pressed to find a WREVA member that was going to go back to a gasoline car for their next purchase. Yep. So it seems that once somebody gets involved with electric, they're really locked in. And I know from my situation, I know from the three of us, we would never consider going back to a gasoline vehicle no matter what. And of course, with all these extra additions that are coming into the EV tent, it's just going to be easier and easier for others to make that same choice.
Yeah. And it's interesting, Eric, you mentioned about the generator, and Mark, you're saying about, not going back to gas, but I was up at the cabin about 3 weeks ago, and usually I turn my generator on to pump water up the hill because we're totally off the grid and we have a big tank for water. Yeah. Well, guess what? The generator, it's a sign. The generator ran, but there was no electricity coming from it. Oh. And I called Yeah, and I called to say like, hey, what's the cost of something like this? And they're like, well, you realize now you can get generators pretty cheap at Canadian Tire, which is true. But here's the thing, I still need to get the water pumped up the hill, and I put in the last summer the new solar array, and you know what? I had no problems. Not only pumping water up the hill, but I also took delivery of a brand new fridge that takes about 45-watt light bulb to run it, and it's a 19 and a half cubic foot fridge. It's not a small fridge. Um, so like you guys are saying, like, why would you go back to gas? And my generator now, I'm looking at it going like, yeah, you're kind of like the next thing to go. I don't need that, and don't need the propane tanks necessarily anymore for the fridge that we used to have, the old propane fridges. So again, this is changing. The percentages that we're showing across Canada, they seem small, but like Mark, you mentioned as well, every year we're seeing literally like a doubling of everything. And again, back to that S curve, it's going up slowly, and it's just starting to angle up quite a bit. I think this F-150 is going to be a game changer for the attitude of people towards electric vehicles once it comes out.
I agree.
Yeah. All right. This is really exciting to see as well. As Ottawa, basically, they're converting, they're going to add 450 zero-emission buses to its fleet by 2027 and become fully electric by 2036. I question whether they wouldn't become fully electric even sooner.
Yeah, it's possible. So the announcement is that they're immediately purchasing 74, that they're going to enter service by 2023, and then 450 buses, which is roughly half their fleet, by 2027. And then they're saying by 2036 that they should be fully zero emissions. I'm guessing that the time might be just based on the cycle life of some of the buses that they have. So I'm guessing they have a certain number of buses in service today, and it's going to take a certain amount of time for them to cycle out of service. But to your point there, Ian, I think they're going to look at some of the costs, and I think in some case, 10 years from now, they're going to sit there and say, keep some of these gas buses on the road. It might be cheaper to retire them sooner and get an electric bus to replace them too. So depending on the capabilities and the new technologies that are out 10 years from now. So
yeah. And what's the maintenance cost of those buses that they're keeping, between now and 2036? If they add up all those maintenance costs, and do we know that maybe they've bought an X amount of newer buses that the emissions aren't quite, as bad, but again, maintenance costs, fueling costs, all those things. That's why I'm thinking that they say 2036, they might be redoing some accounting. And finding out that it's going to be sooner.
Yeah, that might happen. That timeline, I expect that timeline to accelerate.
Well, that's certainly the great thing with this amount of buses is they're going to be able to do an excellent accounting of how these buses are performing in Ottawa month after month, year after year, and know what the costs are going to be. The fleet manager will be able to compare it directly to those gasoline and diesel vehicles, and they'll know exactly how much they could save if they were to accelerate their plan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And of course, the other cool thing about this, again, we're in relation to the previous story about talking about, the word of mouth aspect of things. I'm pretty sure municipalities, they talk.
Oh, yeah.
They get together for different things, and other municipalities are going to be seeing, these projects and watching them to consider what they're going to do within, their own cities and that. So, and of course, Edmonton, it's been really interesting to watch with them and their electric buses. And of course, Edmonton is not a city. It's probably snowing there now as we speak. It is minus 15, but that is they've got the cold weather, and they're proving that those buses work really well.
Yeah, Edmonton, Toronto's got a good fleet going as well too. So certainly there's going to be a lot of eyes on these different regions. And yeah, absolutely. I know for a fact they talk to each other, and they all look at, and they're watching how the performance of these vehicles work in these different environments, and they're going to go back and run the numbers and say, yeah, it makes sense to do this.
Mm-hmm. So, now this is great to see. All right. So, I had to bring this up. This came in my news feed today, actually. So our CO2 levels are now 50% higher than before the Industrial Revolution. And I always find it interesting when, if anyone sort of debates the whole, climate change, whatever you want to call it, climate change or global warming, and yet climate science has been around since the mid 1800s. In fact, it was a lady who really showed how CO2 impacts the world with a very simple science experiment. So this article just came up today, and we're at a peak. May is basically a peak for us, because what at this point happens is the trees start getting their vegetation, with the leaves. The crops are being planted and starting to come up. All these type of things which pull carbon out of the air. But at the cyclical level, right before May, we're seeing this is at a peak more than any time in the last 4 million years, and 50% more than prior to the Industrial Revolution. So it's a serious thing that we are dealing with. And of course, every year we're also noticing that the storms are that much more catastrophic. And I've been seeing some of the technology they're calling about pulling carbon dioxide out of the air, storing it, using it into different products like cement in a different way, which is great. But we have a long ways to go. And one other thing I was just seeing here is that we pump 40 billion metric tons of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere every year, and pollution, right? This isn't just carbon dioxide like that plants need. I read an article once that stated, think of it like diabetes. If you have a bit of sugar, you're not necessarily going to become diabetic, but too much sugar and you are affecting your body in a way that, yes, you could eventually become diabetic. Carbon dioxide with plants is actually, too much of it is not good for plants either. Not saying they're becoming diabetic, but it's there's that argument like, oh, plants need carbon dioxide. Yeah, but to what point? So hopefully, now that we get facts like this is something that our governments will see, and our industries as well, and do that much more to really get on top of this.
Yeah. Yeah, we can see even with the temperatures that we're seeing right now, it's not even technically summer yet. So, and we're seeing summer-like temperatures. But yeah, obviously, CO2 concentrations increasing is a major issue, and there's a lead lag effect. A lot of people don't realize that even though CO2 emissions are increasing, we won't see the effects of that for years from now. And the more we do now, the worse it's going to get, because even if we take steps to reverse it today, it's going to take time for those provisions to take effect as well too. There's a lag effect to all of that. And so, yeah, the time to act is, well, yesterday, but we got to do, basically we're limiting the damage now. Every measure that we do today is reducing how much we have to deal with tomorrow. And yeah, so it's a major problem, and we need to get on this basically.
It's interesting you mentioned about we're in June and we're not in summer yet, but the temperatures we're feeling. But I think in 1 week I heard about 4 different media articles, from radio to newspaper to television, about the dealing with you're waking up and your eyes are all congested and everything that way. And I've been fighting that, I've noticed, for the last 2 weeks. Allergies has just been through the roof, and a lot of media outlets were talking about it as well, and they were attributing it as well to the fact that we're getting earlier springs, and it's affecting a lot of different aspects that way, and climate change is a part of it.
hopefully we're on the right trail. And like I said, there's no one silver bullet that solves it all. But with us working on these problems individually and combining them up, hopefully we can reverse this trend.
Yeah. All right. So our final slide for the night is giving you another update on the solar pontoon boat, which I finally spilled the beans and said, yeah, this is what I'm working on with the Cybertruck Canada website. Anyways, the biggest update that we got is we've got the batteries all wired. That was an interesting afternoon of soldering and dealing with, 1/0 welding cable, basically. On the left-hand side, you see there's a couple little screenshots of my phone. And this is another area I love with the technology now. The company Victron, if you look on the bottom in the blue box, you'll see there's a couple of green lights there and green and yellow lights, but there's no actual display. And that's because this box is totally done through Bluetooth on your phone. And so we turned it on, we plugged it into the battery, we turned it on, and 2 firmware updates came up right off the top once I connected to it with the phone. And now you can buy a display for this, but they give you that option whether you really need to or not, because everyone's got a phone and it's kind of pretty cool to actually monitor everything on your phone. It'll also give you every day when you're charging with solar, how many kilowatts that you've done, all that fun stuff. But the battery boxes have 2 Tesla batteries in them and times 2 battery boxes. So we got 4 Tesla batteries in there. And the electric motor is going to be drawing about 176 amps for that. And there's lots of fuses. I think the fuse for the electric motor alone is about 225 amps on there. So anyways, we finished last night more on the battery boxes. We've got some handles on them so we can lift the 130 pounds that these things are. Maybe, yeah. So yeah, I'm not sure it'll be a 1-person job. It'll most likely be 2-person job. After we're done this, actually this weekend, I think with the electric motors course has been mounted on the boat. I think this weekend we're hopefully going to get the boxes out to test it on the boat. Got to get those mufflers that they put on the motor that you can run a garden hose to it and run water through the lower half of the motor, so that's what keeps it cool. And then we start working on the actual canopy for the boat. So that's being done up in CAD right now. And you know what? A big shout out to my friends Mark and Mike Melvin, who have been helping me out with this. Mark's been doing basically all the design of the battery boxes and the solar array. Mike's been grateful enough to let me store the boat at his place, and I maybe should say also thanks to his wife for letting me put it out there. It's been a really cool project. Of course, as you go along, it's like, oh, I have to spend money to get this now because I need this. As much of planning as you make, something always kind of comes up. So it's coming along.
I'm going to add to your expenses again, Ian. I would suggest that since you're going to be using your phone as a display to see what's going on with the batteries, invest yourself with a floatable phone case. Because you're going to be out on the water with that phone, and you never know if it happens to go overboard. Your display and phone will not sink to the bottom of the lake.
That's a good point. I thought you were going to say something to me about you're going to spend my money because you told me about some bet you made with the Habs defeating the Leafs brutally, that we had made a bet that I didn't know about.
But now that you have, yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh man, that was misery at its finest.
or it was joyful at its finest. It depends on what side of the fence you're sitting on.
Exactly. You know what? got a Canadian team who's going to be going down playing either Vegas or trying to think, Colorado.
Yeah.
Tonight's the game. Vegas could go on, but you know what? I will say this much: I do become a Habs fan when they are like kind of the last Canadian team to cheer for. But you know what? They deserve to be where they're at, and actually the Leafs deserve to be where they're at because the Habs really showed what a great team, and Carey Price really showed up. With the goaltending as well, and it's great to see.
Well, back to your vote. When do
Yeah.
you think you will have all the components up and running and you'll have an inaugural run in a body of water? When do you think that's going to be?
Well, I've been bugging Mark a little bit about this because the solar canopy is basically the last thing that we really have to get done and figure it out. And of course, it's all dependent on his time because, he's doing the design. I am, I think you asked me this back in May, and I'm still shooting towards July with this. I'm hoping maybe end of June, but maybe more so July. It does take some time. It's a little more time than I expected.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and you're building it from scratch, so there's
project.
You've got all sorts of things that are popping up along the way that you're learning. It is ambitious, and I certainly wish you well, and I hope to be there when you get it running. We'd love to take some video and share it with the group as well.
Oh, for sure. I've even custom designed a flag. Instead of the skull and crossbones, I've got the skull and 2 lightning bolts on it. So I'm looking to get that printed up and put on the boat.
Very good. Very good. Okay, well that about wraps it up. As I've mentioned, if you want to read any more about the articles, you'll see the link below. It'll be inside the show notes that you can go to those different article links. If you're still with us at this point, obviously you like what you're seeing. Please help us out by clicking the like button there on the screen, and press the subscribe button too. That helps us out and gets it running in the YouTube algorithm and pushes it out to more people's eyes. So a like and a subscribe doesn't cost you anything, but helps the channel out. So we would appreciate that. And with that, we want to wish everyone a great coming week. Hope you are enjoying the weather, as we mentioned earlier. Any shout-outs, Eric?
Just with the province reopening, I hope people find a nice patio someplace and enjoy themselves and in a socially distanced way. And hopefully the good trend continues, and hopefully we'll be getting some in-person meetings and coming up in the fall. So hopefully the good times are coming back again. Exactly.
Ian, any shout-outs as we close out tonight?
Just like I said to Mike and Mark, for all their help with all this stuff. And I like Eric said too, tomorrow we're, getting the patios going. I'm sure the stores are going to be a little bit crazy as well, as people are itching to get out and do a little shopping. I know I've got some items that I'm wanting to get as well. But I wish everyone to, please be safe. It's great to hear our numbers are going down. But still, just please be safe and still take it serious so that, come the fall, yes, maybe we can open up that much more and maybe get some live music going again. I miss that huge.
Absolutely. So everyone be safe out there, and hope you and your families are healthy. And we will see you again probably next month to share some more news that we've come up for July. But thanks for joining us for the June episode. And whether you're watching us morning, afternoon, or night, we wish you a good one. Thanks very much, everyone. Bye-bye.